Hey friends, this is your daily Defiance Dispatch. For those of you wondering, no, again, I am not Miles Taylor. I am Maritza Giorgio from the Grounded podcast with John Tester, filling in again. There's just so much to keep track of right now. And so there's a lot of focus on Iran and the Strait of Hormuz. But we want to tell you about some of these other massive stories that are happening right around us that may have slipped under your radar. So today we have new developments in the seemingly continuous unraveling of DHS efforts to carry out Donald Trump's immigration agenda, no matter the cost. We're going to talk to a prosecutor from my home state, actually my home county in Minnesota, who is pushing back. And what were Republicans up to while you were sleeping? Well, wait until you hear what went down on Capitol Hill at 2 a.m. We are going to discuss why it's a big deal with new candidate for Congress and friend of the show, Olivia Troy. Excited to talk to her. And you don't want to miss this week's Soulmate Award. And here's a hint, we have a special guest judge, so I hope you stick around for that. We are going to start tonight with the shakeup inside ICE. We go to Indianapolis's WTHR for this breaking news.
Director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement is now leaving the agency. Todd Lyons is stepping down from ICE May 31st. The Homeland Security Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen made that announcement yesterday, calling Lyons a great leader. Lyons was assigned to oversee President Donald Trump's mass deportation agenda. Earlier in the day, Lyons testified before a House subcommittee where he answered questions about the deaths in ICE custody and other issues. Now, it's not clear why he's stepping down or if the two are related or who'll be replacing him.
Okay, so there has been private reporting that Lyons has cited a reason for stepping down, saying he wants to spend more time with his family and sons. We've heard that before, but I want to back up on something mentioned in that clip, because just hours before this announcement, Lyons was on Capitol Hill, like we heard, under direct pressure from lawmakers about exactly what's happening inside of ICE right now, including what one member described as horrific conditions at detention facilities. We are seeing these headlines all over the place. According to a transcript released by Congresswoman Veronica Escobar, lawmakers actually confronted Lyons with this case of Geraldo Lunas Campos, who died in ICE custody at the Camp East Montana facility in Texas earlier this year. Now, the El Paso County medical examiner ruled that death a homicide. And Lyons confirmed the case has now been referred to the FBI for investigation. In the closing of her statement, Escobar pointed out to Lyons that she was made aware that the agents on site have given false testimony to the events of the homicide, and pressed Lyons to discuss the details with her in another conversation. All of that, of course, comes on top of what we already know, because reporting from Politico last month revealed that Lyons had actually been hospitalized multiple times for stress while trying to carry out the administration's aggressive deportation agenda. Now, officials say that pressure was coming directly from the White House, including daily phone calls where top advisor Stephen Miller pushed for higher deportation numbers and faster results. So when you look at this resignation, it does not feel like a routine transition. This name has been in headlines. I wanted to go to the co-host, my co-host for today. I'm not going to say the co-host, Miles Taylor's co-host, Xander Schultz, for feedback. I really botched that, Xander. I'm sorry, the co-host. Look at you. You're the co-host. Oh, I can't hear him. Hold
now
on.
You've really been inaugurated into the tradition of me being on mute for my first few sentences on the air.
Well, what can we expect from the co-host? I'm sorry. Xander, what do you think? Do you think that Lyons, a man who has served in DHS for more than 2 decades, just decided randomly, all of a sudden, in the middle of this massive deportation agenda, that he just wants to spend time with his kids?
Yeah, I mean, it is famously hard to oppress people. It's hard on the system. Like, we were talking offline about this. You know, Goebbels famously put Nazis on amphetamines because they were falling apart, being oppressive to Jewish people and murdering Jewish people and whatnot too. So yeah, it's bad for, not only is it bad, it's bad for the body, it's bad for the heart, it's bad for the soul to be a Nazi. That was true in the 30s and 40s. It's true today. So I'm not surprised to hear that he was having health issues trying to carry out these orders. It is so terrible. You mentioned a little bit about what's going on in the detention facilities. We're hearing about the murders, of course, like those stand out the most, but there's so much suffering right under even that layer of neglecting people's medical needs, under malnourishment, etc. These are things that happen in refugee camps around the world. And now we are kind of scaling that type of treatment here at home. So as quickly as we can, and we have an announcement coming up in the next couple of weeks here for Defiance members of what we're going to do about these detention centers, as quickly as we can, we need to block and tackle and stall and stop them from scaling these terrible places.
Yeah, and say something when you hear or see something. So now that we have discussed what's happening inside of ICE, we want to discuss how this pressure is playing out in the real world. Because for the first time, as you and Miles announced on the show yesterday, Xander, a local prosecutor is bringing criminal charges against an ICE officer tied to these operations. Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty announced felony assault charges against an ICE agent accused of pointing a gun at civilians during a highway incident earlier this year. And she made clear this case is about something bigger, that federal agents are not above the law and that accountability does not stop at the federal level. And I am just so pleased now to bring in, joining us here in this conversation, Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty.
Mary in the building.
Thank you for being with us.
Of course. Thank you so much for inviting me to be with you.
Mary,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Rita. I was just saying, like, as a baseline, we covered it a little bit, but if you can share outside of what we've covered, just what you can share about this current case, that'd be fantastic.
So people ask me a lot, why is this the first case you've charged? And that's a great question, because we've been investigating Renee Good, Julio Sosa Solis, and Alex Preddy for quite some time. This case came to us the way most cases come to us. So a community member called 911 and said, hey, this man is waving a gun at us. State Patrol did respond. The victims got a video of the SUV that the ICE agent was driving in. So they had his license plate. The trooper pulled video from the highway, and the trooper actually went to Whipple, which is where ICE is stationed here, and was able to get statements from both the ICE agent and the other ICE agent who was in the vehicle with him. So all of that was submitted to us by the State Patrol. So we had the opportunity to look at this case the way we look at every case that's submitted to us, and we were able to charge it.
Yeah, and that's different, right, than the other cases, because other evidence was withheld.
Absolutely.
And not shared with you.
Yes, and that's still continuing. In all of those cases, the federal government, including, in the Preddy case, they actually physically blocked our state law enforcement agency, the BCA, from processing the scene. So much so that we worked with the BCA. They drafted a search warrant. We made sure a judge was available on a Saturday to sign the warrant. And still, they had a judicially signed warrant, and the federal government would not honor it. And so then we went to the extreme of filing a lawsuit in federal court later that afternoon and asked for a temporary restraining order to demand that they preserve and not alter any of the evidence. That temporary restraining order was granted later that Saturday. So this has all been extremely unusual. This is not the way it usually works here. And they have just continued to bar us, block us from gaining access to any of that evidence, including when we went through what you're supposed to go through to ask for information from a federal agency. The Department of Justice didn't even respond to our letter.
Wow.
And so we have filed lawsuit in Washington, D.C., asking a judge to make them comply.
Mary,
go ahead, Marisa.
Sorry, man.
We're new at this co-hosting thing.
We're instant best friends, but we're not. Yeah, we got to figure out a rhythm. But I do want to add, like I told you beforehand, I'm from St. Louis Park. This feels personal to me, but it's not just me. I hear from people all over the country who feel like they have this connection and solidarity with the Minneapolis community, with Minnesota right now. And you mentioned that, you were able to do this because you had the evidence, but do you think there are more charges coming related to ICE actions during Operation Metro Surge?
Yes, I believe that we will be able to charge. Remember, we also announced we're investigating, at the time, it was 17 cases. And those were based on video that probably everybody in the country saw. where you saw a video in what appeared to be some kind of unlawful behavior. And so we are following up. We've interviewed, I believe, over 50 witnesses right now. And we actually got people submitted other cases to us. And so we are looking at all of those cases. And as you know, one of them was Bovino throwing a gas canister towards a park where school was getting out. So those were the two most known cases to people, I think. But I think if people remember back to the videos they were watching, they probably recognize a lot of the cases we are investigating.
A lot of what you outlined there in that first explanation was you were able to prosecute this case because of evidence collection. You had the evidence necessary and identification really as the primary. It's not just evidence, but evidence that allowed you to identify the perpetrator here. What should other cities do? What have you all done? What should other cities be doing to make sure that identification is being captured, make it easier? I know these guys are wearing masks in some places, et cetera. Like, what should they do as policy? What should individuals do that are around these scenes? Like, what's your advice for DAs, citizens, et cetera, in these occupied cities?
This is actually the reason I and 8 of my colleagues from around the country formed the Fight Against Federal Overreach, or FAFO. The idea there was for us to share information with other local DAs about how to prepare should something like this happen to another DA. We had a convening in February, which went really, really well. We at our office have been working with 2 law firms from Washington, D.C., who have donated their time. It's pro bono. They're working with us. They're experts in federal law and the Department of Justice. Some of them work there. And so they've been walking us through what are the issues that will likely arise if you charge a federal agent. When we had the FAFO convening in February, I was kind of in the position of this sort of hit us first. And there were a lot of things I could say to my colleagues, like, this is what I wish I would have known. And one of those things was to have conversations with local law enforcement to make sure they understand they do have jurisdiction to investigate. Because we have something like 38 different law enforcement agencies here in Hennepin County. And I did have a meeting with many of the chiefs. And at first they said they didn't think they had jurisdiction. And I said, well, you do. You know, if a crime is committed in your city or your county, you do have jurisdiction. So please investigate. Please do the best you can. And so one thing I've been very proud of is that my colleagues have already been having those conversations with their local police force. So if this happens in their city, those police officers know, hey, you can investigate this just like any other case. And while they may not tell you who they are, you can arrest them. You can do these things. You can pull video. You know, on some of the cases, or a lot of the cases here, unfortunately, there was video of them, but it gets taped over if you don't pull it within a couple of weeks. So that's a critical piece for local law enforcement to know, to make sure that they are obtaining witnesses who are there, even if they're not able to talk to them at the scene. At least you've got the witness names and contact info so somebody else can go interview them. So there are some pretty basic things that local law enforcement can do. And so the idea is sharing all of these, what I wish I would have known. And here are some of the federal legal issues that you'll have to face if you charge a federal agent.
Just a quick follow-up to that, and I'll toss it to Maritza, because when this happened, one of the things I said when we heard about the federal agents blocking the local police from capturing evidence, I said there's value in the police even trying to force the issue. We're not asking them to get into a gunfight, but even making sure that's taped, even sure that interaction, which I imagine might be another crime, blocking the local police from collecting evidence, trying to force the issue a little bit. So we at least, you know, you can even see that helping sway the court of opinion. Seeing a bunch of armed federal officers telling local police who have jurisdiction to get out of there, and it's not their crime scene. That's even that practice is even value in and of itself. I just want to know if you kind of validate that that opinion.
Absolutely. And this is one of those reasons why it's really important for local DAs to start having these conversations. I can tell you that we never received a single case from any law enforcement in all of Hennepin County during Operation Metro Surge. And a lot of that, you know, in my meeting with law enforcement, and I want to emphasize, I understand this is very different, this is unprecedented, and local law enforcement hasn't had to deal with this, as have our neighbors and our community members. And one of the things I heard from them is that some of their officers were afraid to intervene because they thought, what happened if we get arrested? What happened if we're put on a, I mean, bad things would happen. That they, that kind of thing. But I said to them, yes, I understand those difficulties. I understand this is unprecedented. But at the same time, you signed up to protect and serve your community, and your community is standing there with whistles. They're not armed. And so you guys have to look in the mirror and decide who you signed up to protect and serve. And they were struggling with that. And that's one of the reasons why having these conversations early and working with them to try to get them there. And I'll tell you, since you live in St. Louis Park, you probably know this, that the mayor of Minneapolis, who made this big speaking tour, was asked after the police chief at the Minneapolis Police Department said he expected his officers to intervene. The mayor was interviewed and somebody said, well, why aren't you intervening? And he said, well, their guns are bigger than ours.
Yeah.
That was Jacob Frey?
Yeah.
Wow. Interesting.
Yes. So
and
at the same,
yeah. Oh, I was going to clarify, Mary, that I was raised and I graduated from St. Louis Park. I live in Montana now, but I've been following very closely from afar, as so many people have. And I mean, they looked to Mayor Frey, they looked to the governor, they're looking to you for what people are supposed to be doing. And I'm not sure if you knew this, Mary, but sometimes the president doesn't like when people push back against him, and he might say some things or do some things to kind of try to threaten them. So I'm wondering if you have faced any actual real resistance here, or barriers from federal agencies as you have looked into this and gone down this really revolutionary path here.
To be really honest with you, I don't pay that much attention to what this administration is saying. It changes all the time. I can tell you that yesterday after charges, I got over 100 supportive emails from around the country. Today, I'm starting to get the hate emails. It's really worrisome. It's worrisome for my family. There is a lot of violent rhetoric on social media right now. Mm-hmm. And that's alarming because you have people saying, hey, I should be arrested, I should be prosecuted. And, people saying, well, if that doesn't happen, where are the patriots and stuff like that? And this is where we get into, we live in a state where we had political assassinations just last year. And so, yes, I certainly am concerned for my family, myself. At the same time, I have to do my job. And you are absolutely right in that our community was looking around saying, hey, we're being occupied by our own federal government. Who is here to help us? Who is here to help us? And that's been a sustained question for people in the community. What's local law enforcement doing? Who's doing anything, in fact? And so that's one of the reasons why I think our lane is so important here, because this is something that we can do, and this is our job, which is to hold people accountable if they break the law.
Well, I know you say it's your job, but I want to commend you because there's a lot of people who have a similar job to you. I'm living in Portland, another city that's been occupied where the DA isn't doing the job you're doing. And so even though you're saying it's your job, I want to commend you on following through on that promise and that obligation so fearlessly. Look, I want to frame this question as this. We need you to win. You are setting a precedent that's going across the country. We need you to win. What can we do to help you win? And when I say we, it can be Defiance, the organization, and our members, the broader public. How do we support you in this critical fight? Because I think this isn't just about prosecuting this one individual. And I'm happy the case is just someone brandishing their weapons, because a bunch of ICE agents might think maybe they know not to murder someone, but almost all of them were behaving recklessly. And this could be a warning shot to all of them that they can't just be bullies in our society. How do we support you in winning these cases and these investigations?
Yes. I told my colleagues at our convening that I believed that if local DAs are ready and have the evidence to charge, that could be a big deterrent. Because we heard the rhetoric from the administration, we heard the vice president, we heard whoever saying, you have absolute immunity, which doesn't exist. Nobody's going to put a hand on you. And I can't help but think that that made those agents feel that they were untouchable and that this kind of behavior that we all saw was just fine. And so my belief is that by charging, if it's appropriate, and holding people accountable for behavior like that should be a deterrent. They just can't come into a community and behave in unlawful ways. And so one thing that I think can be supportive is making sure that other DAs are aware. I know there's been some resistance, for instance, in Cook County in Chicago. That DA, I think, has said she can't do anything. And you said that that's happening in Portland. But I know that there are a lot of DAs who want to do this. They also don't have offices that have the resources. Ours does. We have a staff of over 500, and we have, we're very fortunate to be able to have more resources than other DAs. So really being supportive of other DAs and pushing them and saying, hey, and this is what we're trying to do in FAFO too. We want to help everybody. We want, I always characterize it as we're kind of building the plane as we're flying it, because that's just what had to happen. But we all want to help everyone else out there figure out how to do this. And I think people supporting them is really important. It felt really nice, to get all these emails from all over the country. And I was thinking, why does somebody in Canada or in Mexico or in Maine or whatever? I was getting them from all over. And it makes you feel like you're not alone. It makes you feel like, even though you're getting a lot of hate, that's just a certain segment of the population, and that the work that we are doing is really important.
I'll just say how validating that is to hear. FAFO was conceived right here when we had Larry Krasner on. And, based on his thesis that you guys need a broader team to support one another because of these unique challenges. And it's really beautiful to hear that we played that FAFO is serving a meaningful role in this fight. And your advice is to continue to expand it and let other DAs know they're supported in that. That was great to hear from you.
I'm also going to say too, and I haven't asked Larry this. I keep meaning to ask him that. I'm pretty sure the acronym was always going to be FAFO, and I had to find the words.
He just wanted to say it. He's like, "What's an excuse to say this more often?"
I've got to tell you, it's been great. It's been really, having that convening in DC and meeting my friends and colleagues and being able to share and have them, we're all supportive of each other, and it's grown. It's grown. We have more members now, and the goal is to support people and all over the country. And so we've also reached out, our office has, to help people say, hey, how can we help you? And we're really very proud to be able to do that. So I really appreciate the support. I appreciate the organization, and I know it's just going to continue to grow.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for everything you're doing. And it really does show. You're spot on. Pushback works, and people find lanes and avenues that work that others maybe haven't thought of or haven't tried. And so, again, kudos to Minnesota really leading the way and being just a beacon of hope for so many others across the country wondering, what can we do? And thank you for all of your work.
Yeah, if I could just say one last thing, because I always try to say this, my lane is a fairly narrow one. What really happened here, and I don't think people are really going to realize the extent of it, is the extent to which the community came together. Mutual aid, paying people's rent, driving their kids to school, bringing meals. I can't even count all the ways. Yeah. And it was really the community coming together. And even, in the face of people getting shot and killed, people still came out. And so it is the community that deserves the accolades here for coming together and really standing up to bullies, essentially, and telling the federal government, this isn't okay with us. And that's ultimately why there was such bad press, and ICE left. They're still kind of here, but they're responsible for that. And I have been really inspired by the community here.
That's great to hear.
Such a great point. Such a great point. All right, Mary Moriarty, thank you so much for joining us here on Defiance Daily.
Thank you.
Hi, Mary. Thanks for being a hero.
Oh, she's so right too, Zan. I was there right after Alex Preddy was killed. I mean, literally within an hour, and it did not deter people. It actually made them angrier. And they went out with like more gusto and said, no, not on our watch. We are not going to stand down. So really just amazing story out of Minnesota. We're going to turn now to something that happened while we were sleeping, Xander. Maybe not you, because you're on the West Coast. Maybe you were up.
I might have still been up.
we turned to a vote that happened in the middle of the night, folks. So while most Americans were asleep, maybe not Xander, House Republicans actually moved forward on a last-minute extension of a controversial surveillance law with little warning, limited debate. The vote came just hours before this law was set to expire, forcing a rushed decision on a program that allows the government to collect communications without a warrant in certain cases. So here's a breakdown of what happened.
A group of GOP rebels prevented what would have been a 5-year extension of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act in an overnight vote at the House of Representatives. The law, known by the acronym FISA, is set to expire on Monday. The House instead voted to delay that expiration by 10 days to allow for more negotiation time.
Now, the provision at the heart of the debate is Section 702. According to reporting from The Hill, Section 702 allows the government to spy on foreigners located abroad, but it has received pushback from privacy-minded lawmakers on both the left and the right who say the government should need to get a warrant before accessing information on Americans that gets swept up if they communicate with foreign targets.
House Speaker Mike Johnson has advocated repeatedly for FISA, calling it a critical national security tool. President Trump called for getting rid of FISA in the past, arguing that the FBI misused the law to spy on his 2016 campaign. But he's since changed his stance, saying on Truth Social that it keeps Americans safe when used correctly.
The House vote at 1 a.m. Friday morning rejected the proposed 5-year extension of the measure. Nearly all Democrats voted against it, and they were joined by 20 Republicans. Representative Ro Khanna posted this video on X as he headed back to the Capitol last night for the vote.
There really is not a philosophical debate here. A yes vote is a vote to give Donald Trump more power over American citizens. A no vote is a vote to stand up to Donald Trump. Every Democrat should be a no on the reauthorization of FISA.
The 10-day extension on the measure will now head to the Senate, where it would need to be approved and sent to President Trump's desk by the Monday deadline. FISA is very controversial.
It is. And
All right, Xander, what are your initial thoughts there?
Freedom and safety are two things we all want, and there's always a tension between them. And authoritarians have always used safety as a means of restricting freedom. And that's not even unique to, Donald Trump necessarily. Yeah, right. This country has a long history, and abroad there's a long history of leaders using safety as an excuse to restrict freedom, restrict privacy, etc. Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers, has a great quote: "Those who give up liberty for safety deserve neither." I've used that quote maybe 15 times on the show, but I think the reason I keep repeating it is because this is from a very old playbook that Benjamin Franklin was dealing with back in his day of promises to keep you safe. And don't worry, I'll do it. I just need to be able to violate your rights and privacy everywhere else in your life.
Yeah, let's put up to what the president posted on Truth Social if we can.
Okay.
And he actually said that he's willing to risk the giving up of my rights and privileges as a citizen for our great military and country. This is part of what I thought about when I was reading this, because FISA, I mean, it's very in the weeds. It's very specific policy, and I don't think it's on the minds of every single American. We think of your top 5 issues, right? But it is certainly, when you hear it, like, what do you mean? That's alarming. And I was thinking of the 8 lawmakers who were, really upset and up in arms when they learned that the FBI surveilled their phone records after January 6th and actually put a provision in the spending bill to be able to sue the government for doing that. The difference in that case is that there were grand jury subpoenas to do so. This is completely different. And so I think to sneak this vote through in the middle of the night when they wouldn't want that done to them. I mean, I think it's just, it's an interesting conversation here, and something I would love to ask those 8 lawmakers about.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason the FBI was calling Martin Luther King a communist. Right. The reason they were calling him a communist is because it triggered these abilities to say, hey, he's coordinating with foreign adversaries, and we should be able to spy on him and his allies. This happened to the social justice movement in the 60s at great scale. It still happens today to a lot of the Black communities that are on, I think it's 7 million people on parole and probation that essentially don't have civil rights when they're on parole and probation. So yeah, we see this everywhere. We have friends. My family has friends from being a wrestling family. For those who don't know, my dad was an Olympic champion wrestler. We have friends in Iran. The stuff, you can't even check on them on the phone because they know someone's listening. Right. You can't really get the real deal on what's going on in Iran because they know they can't say it. And so you don't even ask because you know how it will incriminate and potentially endanger them. We do not want to be living in that situation. It gets really, really spooky, really, really fast. Everyone listening to this knows that. It's good to see that there were a few folks that were willing to break the party lines to refuse that from being the case here.
I want to bring in our guest joining us now, Olivia Troy, friend of the show, former Homeland Security Advisor to Vice President Mike Pence, and now we can say candidate for Congress. Hey, Olivia, let's break down some of this, but let me just first say congratulations on your big announcement this week.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah, something I never thought I'd be doing, but here we are.
Okay, so can we break down this 2 a.m. vote? What does this mean for the average person watching? Like, what do people need to be aware of here when we're talking about FISA?
I think that this has been an ongoing debate, right, in national security circles for a long time. This is something that we know has always been complicated. I would say there's been debates on it. I think if from a privacy perspective and civil liberties, I think there are concerns in that space. These are things that we've had conversations along the way where, those concerns I understand are, they're legitimate. I understand that. I tend to be very much privacy focused, especially in today's climate. So I think, last night's vote was interesting. I think obviously the tool was made so that we could keep Americans safe, right? That was a viewpoint of the national security, is how do we make sure that we prevent attacks from happening here domestically? How do we disrupt attacks? That was where the national security community has always been. I think what we saw last night develop was, I think that we are in a moment in our country, though, where given what we've seen with the Trump administration, given what we've seen with the leadership of the country, I understand why. There's going to be pause on this, right? There's going to be pause on what does this mean going forward? How should this move forward? And given what I'm seeing in terms of government overreach in some of these agencies, candidly, I understand the concern on this. Why would you want warrants when you're going to do surveillance on something? Those are valid questions, I would say, right now on what is happening here domestically right now in these political times. Does that make sense? Are they going to use it to spy on Americans? That has always been the concern. Sometimes American communication gets swept up in FISA surveillance. How do you handle that? And look, I'm coming at this from a person in national security who believes, that we need to be disrupting attacks. We need the tools to do that, obviously. On the other hand, I'm concerned about the leadership we have at the helm at these agencies. And
that's an understatement.
That's very diplomatic of me, right? Did you like that? Fully diplomatic thing.
Well, maybe that's a good segue, because I want to talk about your candidacy. You're someone who is really effective from the outside. You're a great communicator. You have a big following here on Substack. You are someone people really look to for leadership and advice over the last several years. And I wonder, what was the thinking saying, I want to do something on top of that. I want to also be a candidate. I want to be in Congress. I want to make a difference there. What was the decision-making process that went into that?
Look, I have been thinking about this for a while. I never thought that I would be running for office. point blank. I also never thought that I'd be, someone who would have taken on Donald Trump. So obviously life has a way of happening and things happening in this country. But as I sat here, like, obviously I witnessed the Trump administration firsthand. I was a career national security official. I was assigned to Mike Pence's office, and I resigned from that position in order to speak publicly about my concerns and did everything I could to get Joe Biden elected. And I had been in the space, I campaigned for Kamala Harris along the way, about what the danger that Trump posed should he return. And now here we are. And as I watch every day on a daily basis how much worse this gets, I just felt strongly that I couldn't sit on the sidelines anymore, that I needed to do more. I'm a big believer in public service. And I just felt like when I see a lot of lack of courage and strength in Congress from Democrats and Republicans in terms of the fight, that is really what drove me. I was like, we need to have people that are willing to take this on head on, that are willing to fight and really like put a stand against what's happening. And I just don't see that. And so I just felt strongly that I was going to fight for Virginia.
So Olivia, you're just, at the end of your first week, like, what are you hearing? What's the kind of, like, how are you feeling today?
I mean, I'm under no illusions. I mean, this is going to be hard. It's going to be hard. I'm in a, and it'll be a crowded primary. I'm running in the new district 7. We're actually voting on the redistricting next Tuesday. So that's a big deal. It's a big weekend here to get out the vote and get people to support it. And I think that's important. And I've gotten questions on that. Like, do you feel comfortable with this? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Because we're in a moment where we can't be timid. We got to fight. We got to fight with everything we can. And Republicans have been doing this around the country. So absolutely, Virginia should do this, right? I mean, we have to. So I think that is where I am on it, like in terms of what's happening here. So it's just, it's been an exciting week. I plan to work really hard for this in the district. I'm up against a politically established machine that has existed and a lot of money. But I am running a people-powered grassroots campaign. That is my focus. And I plan to really fight for the people on the ground. And look, this area has been impacted significantly, especially by DOGE. There are a lot of government workers in the area. I hold that very near and dear. I know so many people that have been impacted. And I know a lot of people in government that are still serving today. And I know how hard it is. I know, when you're watching government institutions being gutted, when you're watching the national security and intelligence community be undermined, and how do you navigate that? I know so many people that are trying to figure out where they contribute, how they, navigate this chaos with the leadership that they have at the helm. And it's hard.
You mentioned the word fight so many times there, and I'm so happy you did. I think that's what we're all looking for. It feels like, I'm an outsider, right? It feels like DC is populated with a bunch of ambitious people trying to have important careers that aren't willing to fight. And I think you've already crossed some sort of threshold in terms of trust, because you've already shown you'll risk something to fight for what's right. And I think that's so critical and so missing in the trust gap between everyday people in Washington. I wonder, you also represent part of the expansion of the Big Tent in the Democratic Party, right? You're a lifelong Republican going over there to run. What do you think the Democrats as a party need to do to make sure they maintain that Big Tent and even expand it more as we move towards maybe the most important midterms ever?
Yeah, I think given what is happening with the Trump administration and with Republican legislation, I would say overall right now, I think we need to really be tying it back to the impact locally, right, in our communities. I mean, when we see this war on Iran, which I believe was completely unjustified based on, intel wasn't there. It's an ongoing conflict. There seems to be, yes, there's a ceasefire. I highly doubt that it's going to hold. We'll see how this plays out. But I think we really need to be explaining to people that straight arm movement matters, because not only is it gas prices that are up, it is going to impact grocery store prices. It is going to impact the longer term picture. It is already impacting farmers, right? I mean, it's holistically. And I think you can have someone reckless in the administration at the top, like we do with Donald Trump, who's unfit to serve in the Oval Office. And everything he does with his recklessness and his daily decisions on the things that he does globally may not feel like they trickle down. Every action this man takes does impact you at the local level eventually, right? And so when I'm looking at it, I'm just worried about like what is happening to our healthcare right now that's skyrocketing. I mean, people are trying to figure out how they're going to afford healthcare when we're, you know, cutting ACA subsidies. Like how do we navigate that going forward? Like I'm worried about that because my husband had a period where he was uninsured and it was impossible for him to afford the medication that he needed for his autoimmune disease. And I get that. I mean, it is, you know, I talk to so many people right now that are like very worried about where the future holds on this. And I'm talking to people who are like worried about higher education cuts. Like I was a first generation college student. It was expensive and very hard for me to go to the school that I went to. But I'm looking at, you know, they're cutting Pell Grants. Like, what are we doing here? How are we helping people get to the next step in education? Like, so
That's a good campaign slogan, by the way. What are we doing here? If you want to do what are we doing here as a campaign slogan, you can keep that one for free.
Thank
well,
you.
I appreciate that you said that, Olivia. Like, yeah, I mean, it's so important. I couldn't have gone through college without Pell Grants, and that's such a critical piece to like inclusive prosperity, right? That people have a chance and they have a leg up. I'm wondering, you know, we've already seen the president say this war doesn't affect us here at home. We've already seen ridiculous. We've already seen RFK Jr., you know, lie on Capitol Hill about certain cuts and that we're not, you know, that's not happening. That's not happening.
We've seen a lot from RFK Jr.
Oh,
we saw
more than I'd like
yeah.
to see. But
what was that? Squirrel. Oh wait.
Raccoon.
Oh, we said we wouldn't talk about it too much today. We covered it a lot yesterday.
Sorry. Yes.
Oh dear, the raccoon. But how do you? I mean, is there one thing that you think that MAGA supporters or Trump voters are that they're able to cut through this bullshit now and say, oh no, like when he says the war doesn't affect us here at home? Are you hearing from people that say, no, actually, I disagree with you, Mr. President? It is. I mean, are you seeing that kind of breakthrough now?
I think somewhat. I think, you know, the thing is, he has gone back. I mean, the hypocrisy of his entire campaign is on full display now, right? I mean, it's gone from no wars to we are now in conflicts and I have no idea what's coming next in the Western Hemisphere because I know that that's where they're very focused. I think they've been kind of distracted by it, by what they decided to do with Iran. But like, when you look at that, and then let's remember in 2024, how many damn times did we hear about the price of eggs from the Trump campaign?
Totally.
Right? Like every day it was the price of eggs, the price of this. And I was like, well, guess what? Like, we are living that. We're going to be living that for the next, like, at least 6 months of when the aftermath of things that we haven't even seen that are going to be implicated by what's happening here in this conflict. And so I think holistically, I'm watching this and then I'm thinking, okay, you know, to your point about how do we continue to expand a bigger tent? I think about the working class. Like, he did a very good job of fooling people who work every day to make ends meet. These are hardworking Americans, right? He did a good job of fooling them that he actually cares about them and represents them.
Yeah.
And I think I'm hoping that maybe the dam is starting to break where they're kind of taking a step back and saying like, wait, gas prices are really high. Yeah. And nothing's getting better. I'm not seeing opportunity. I'm not seeing the opportunity they promised for my family. And it's so disconnected. And so when we talk about a bigger tent, like I'm the daughter of a lifelong truck driver. My dad drove truck. And when I was raised on his salary, which was not a lot. And I'm the daughter of a Mexican immigrant. And now when I see everything, all of that is very personal for me because I think there are a lot of families who really believe in the American dream like I did. And I'm like, we need to be fighting for that American dream. We do need to be focused on the working class and how do we help them and how do we embrace them? And I think that is the thing that I'm hoping that this is sort of starting to really, hopefully start to resonate. I think we've got a long way to go, right? I mean, I'm not under any illusion But I think that, he's done a lot of damage, and never mind, we haven't, we don't need to get into the Pope and the Catholic Church that he's attacking.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's endless. But look, Olivia, I want to say one thing though. I know you got to run here, but I want to say that I think you were pointing out something very important, which is we talk a lot about how Trump lied, but we should remember that he won those votes by promising certain things that were being neglected by the political establishment. That the political establishment either wasn't communicating about it at all, or they communicating about it in ways that did not resonate, and he communicated in ways that resonate. So he is a charlatan. we know he's a charlatan, but we also know he was incredible at finding the gaps that were out, the huge gaps that were important to people that were not being communicated at all. And when you're drowning and one guy says, at least I see you, you're going to roll with that guy. And we shouldn't lose that insight and keep making sure we see those issues, but actually rising to the challenge and authentically trying to meet those issues. And I think you're up for the task, and I'm so happy you're in the fight.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I mean, this is something that is very close to home to me. I come from public service. My husband's in public service. We are seeing it and we're feeling it, just like many families. And I feel like, I have a mom that's aging. She's elderly. I care for her. And I know so many families that are similar to my situation. And, it is very hard. And they're like, how do we afford that? I mean, I think that is something,
It's insane. My grandpa just passed this last Tuesday. I put him in a home here, like 5 minutes from me. And like that same thing was running through my head the whole time I'm doing that. I'm like, I do not understand how people who don't have some significant resources handle these things. It's impossible. It was hard with resources. It just keep being I mean this in the most endearing way possible, the normal person you are. And then that like these issues like resonate with you personally because you can see it, you can feel it, and it's so important. So thank you for doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's great to chat with you. Yes, thank you. Now that means a lot to me. So yeah, I'm sure, I look forward. We definitely need to chat again, and I'll keep you posted on how it's going here in Virginia. I plan to work for it. I plan to, I'll be out there meeting the voters where they are, and I plan to meet as many of them as possible because I want to hear from them. That's how I was raised. And so, so if you want to follow me and follow my fight, you should visit my website. It's Olivia.
Oh yeah, give the CTA. Sorry, we should have set you up. What's the CTA? Go.
Right.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, it's oliviatroy.com. Just my name.
All right. Oh, easy.
Yeah. Okay. And Olivia, we're going to have you back on Grounded too one of these days. So I hope you'll join us again with John Tester. All right. Thanks so much, Olivia Troy.
All right. Take care.
Bye. Oh, that was fun to talk to her. Okay. So Xander, we got a little off topic. We're going to talk about FISA a lot more, but we started talking about her campaign, which of course we should, because it's an exciting week for her.
I love Olivia. Sorry.
No, the amount of stuff she's done and the amount of insight she has. But while the failure to pass the FISA vote was a big loss for Trump overnight, we have a lot more for you today because it is time now for our mega losses of the week. We are going to start, Xander, with the Trump administration's ongoing attempt to go after the Federal Reserve Chair, Jerome Powell. So listen to this. It just doesn't end. He doesn't let go of things very easily. Earlier this week, prosecutors from U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office, showed up unannounced at the Federal Reserve construction site tied to their investigation into the Fed chair. Well, there was just a problem with that. They weren't allowed in. Let's go to ABC for more.
Prosecutors made an unannounced visit to the Federal Reserve yesterday as part of their investigation into Fed Chair Jerome Powell. What's the latest on that?
Yeah, this was highly unusual. We're told that yesterday, 2 federal prosecutors from D.C. U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office, as well as an FBI case agent, made an unannounced visit to the Federal Reserve and were allegedly seeking a tour. They were confronted at the time by personnel that were on site. This relates to the renovation projects that are ongoing by the Federal Reserve that we've seen the Trump administration and President Trump specifically identify as one of the reasons he wants to go after Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. Now, we've reviewed a letter from Powell's attorney, Robert Hur, who, as you know, previously served as a special counsel who investigated former President Biden's handling of classified documents. Her is now representing Powell against the U.S. government. And this letter basically points out this federal judge previously last month ruled that the Justice Department's investigation was based on no evidence and appeared to be entirely driven by President Trump's political animus towards Powell. Her is basically warning the Justice Department, do not reach out, make unprompted contact with anybody at the Federal Reserve. You're going to have to go through me. And he basically indicated he's going to try and alert the federal judge if there's any further efforts to contact and maybe, in his words, intimidate his client.
All right, Alex Mallon, we appreciate it as always. Thank you.
All right. What do you think?
There needs to be a rule. I don't know if this is actually true. What I'm thinking right now is there needs to be a rule. If the courts strike you down enough times, you need to get suspended from your job. You clearly don't know what your job is. You clearly don't know.
Just keep throwing spaghetti at the wall. Like, well,
yeah, like that. There's something wrong about that. There's no sort of like suspension or at least like a reversal of process that you have to submit to the courts first if you can pursue something before you freaking hassle everyone. Or in the case of like illegal ICE deployments, you can't put the cat back in the bag if they kill someone or there's like an uprising against them. And at some point, we need to have some rule that says you clearly don't understand how this works. You don't understand. You can't do this. But it's hard to just follow him through every mistake, and he just reloads and throws something. To your point, reloads and throws spaghetti against the wall again after failing.
Right. Well, one of these times the noodle's going to stick, I think, is their thinking. But it is. You're right. You can't put some of these things back in the bag. It's like, oh, well, we'll let the courts catch up. Well, guess what? Our court system moves slowly. They can't react instantaneously, especially when you have this volume of stuff to react to. But I do think that it's important to note they weren't only just turned away. A prosecutor that actually was part of the Biden handling of illegal documents here now represents Powell and basically said, hey, you're going to go through me. You're going to go through me here. So I think, it's just I don't know.
The nice thing is we're winning. Like, it feels like we're winning across, the good guys are winning across every issue all the time. I mean, these guys are being as chaotic as possible, but it does feel like I feel so different than I did, Maritza. I don't know about you, like early in 2025, where it was just like unclear if any of our institutions were going to hold at all.
Yeah. That's fair. It also does make me feel good because I suffer from like chronic imposter syndrome. Like, I constantly feel like I am not good enough for my job or not doing, but like these folks, they make me feel pretty competent.
Yeah, no, really. I was thinking about that honestly when Olivia came out. One of my questions is like, I think we're all, this is maybe like a healthy, unhealthy thing. All of us who are doing this work, like in some ways feel like unworthy, or maybe they're not right for that job, etc. Especially when you think of something as big as becoming like a Congress member or whatnot. And there's this like irony of looking at who's currently in there, understanding you would do infinitely better of a job than them and still having those concerns. And I don't know how to square that, but I'm in the same boat as
here's
you.
what I always say, like, okay, but let's not lower our standards. Like, we should think members of Congress are smarter than us. Like, that's how I feel anyway. I want
or at least fight for really intelligent members
or like
of
a U.S. attorney. I want them to be
smart. We might be it, Brett. It might come down to our peers.
God, let's hope not.
I've gotta hope there's someone else out there.
Okay, let's stick with the legal sector here, because another lawyer found out that it does not pay to stand with Trump. So before we get to the downfall, let's go to Next 9 News for some context here.
Okay. John Eastman was a legal eagle, flying high for a while. He was advising a president. He was advising President Donald Trump on how to overthrow the 2020 election results and stay in power. Even once Eastman got his wings clipped for his attempt to overturn democracy, he managed to get another gig working for the Colorado Republican Party. Well, now the Colorado Supreme Court is the last thing standing between John Eastman and permanent disbarment. Eastman has not been able to practice law since last year, when a judge in California recommended he be disbarred for drawing up that plan to overthrow the 2020 election. The former visiting professor of conservative thought at CU was also working as an attorney for the Colorado GOP. Part of Eastman's appeal included a filing from a former Republican state legislator, Kevin Lundberg, who argued that disbarring Eastman would mess with the Colorado Republican Party's ongoing legal effort to get out of unaffiliated party primaries. Eastman's helping the Colorado GOP with its effort to kick unaffiliateds out of their party primaries. The court ruled that Eastman's disbarment is, quote, necessary to protect the public, the courts, and the legal profession.
Dang, that was pretty damning, that last
Shout out to
sentence.
that anchor too. That's Kyle Clark of KUSA in Denver.
Cool.
Really an incredible journalist. But how do you think it worked out for John Eastman, Xander?
How do I think it worked out? I mean, it worked out great for us. It's so funny, the Republican Party, Mercedes and I were talking about this earlier today when Russ Vought was saying, you guys are hurting DHS by not funding it, or DHS is disintegrating. It's like, we don't want to hurt DHS. We want DHS to abide by the standards in which we should all hold it to. Same goes for, the Republican Party saying, hey, you're gonna hurt us. Please, follow the standards that we have set for lawyers in this country, and we won't hurt you.
Well, and so Eastman was disbarred. Okay, he's disbarred. On Wednesday, the California Supreme Court let stand findings issued by lower court that he misled the courts and pushed baseless claims in an effort to keep Trump in power. I think that what I think of when I hear that he was disbarred is that you can be loyal to the president, and the president might offer you a pardon or a trip to Mar-a-Lago, or however many Bitcoin. That's like way over my head. Sorry, I'm not going to try to talk Bitcoin.
I think they're Trump coins.
The Trump coin, whatever. A trip to the moon, but that does not cover being disbarred. Okay, that's not going to protect you when you do things like this. So that's kind of what I thought. But let's
accountability for the powerful, man. Like, it's what's been missing, and they should know it's coming. It's coming. We talked to Mary. It's coming for the ICE agents who think they're above the law, for the fucking lieutenants on the Trump administration. It's coming for them. And by the way, he's not going to protect you. We know this guy dimes out his people and throws them under the bus all the time too. So even whatever story you've got in your mind about this guy protecting you, there's no evidence that sticks.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right. Okay. Now, finally, our last mega loss of the week. We go to the infamous DoorDash grandma event. So after this event, the public was very quick to see it for what it was, nothing more than a poorly executed PR stunt. But this set the internet ablaze with pushback and memes mocking the event. But the best response came from an unexpected place, HelloFresh. The meal service posted this burn directly after the incident, stating, "We considered dropping off a HelloFresh box at a very famous house painted white, but we didn't want to overwhelm anyone with step 1 preheat oven." Now, if this seems like HelloFresh is underestimating the intelligence of the president, let's go to Exhibit 3B from yesterday.
Okay.
Our country, a year ago, our country was an embarrassment. And all over the world, they laughed at us, and they don't laugh anymore. They are not laughing. They're not laughing anymore. I don't think.
Okay, Xander, quick check. 1 year of today, 1 year ago from today, who is president?
That would be Donald Trump.
I think he forgot.
According to my math. I was a finance major. I can do that math quickly.
Oh, that's good. Also, I think we should also remind people that before that, he also called that DoorDash thing tacky. He said it was tacky. So
yeah. Also, just letting us know how out of touch this guy is. That like a story of like a grandma that has to work to pay for the healthcare of her husband who has cancer and is making like minimum wage to roll around and deliver meals is like a cool, uplifting story because you won't tax her tips. Is like the most out of touch stance.
Yeah, as Jim Acosta said earlier when I was watching his show, like, how about we don't have grandmas that need to DoorDash?
Yeah, how about taking care of our elderly and sick? Like the Jesus you portray yourself as, taking care of the old and sick.
He was the doctor, clearly. That's
either case. Be a doctor then. That's all right. That's in line. Be a doctor. Be good to the sick, you POS.
Okay, let's close out our show. We usually close out our show with who's joining the Defiance every day except for Friday, because Friday is a special day. Instead of applauding those who are pushing back against Trump's authoritarianism, we actually call out the ones who just can't seem to get enough of it, the ones who don't just lick the boot, they take the whole shoe. And floor time shoes. We are talking about floor time shoes, okay? Yeah, does that give you a good mental image here? The same shoes that Donald Trump has reportedly been handing out to members of his cabinet, even when they don't quite fit, and they wear them anyway. So yes, it's time for the Donald J. Trump Soulmate Award. And I just want to give a preview here because we do have a special guest judge joining us in a moment after we go through our nominees. This week, even as Trump continues to alienate parts of his own base, we are seeing cracks in the movement. These nominees didn't budge, though, Xander. So our first nominee is a person who comes from a lineage of deep conservative faith. So even when DJT posted a photo of himself as Jesus, or obviously a doctor, obviously, who would think he would run? Well, nope. This person doubled down. Our nominee, Franklin Graham, was beyond willing to accept Trump's excuse of him thinking the image was of him as a doctor or a healer or a Red Cross worker or whatever he thought it was. So much so that he wrote him a letter letting him know. Franklin Graham said, "I do not believe President Donald Trump would knowingly depict himself as Jesus Christ. That would certainly be inappropriate. I am thankful the president has made it very clear that this was not at all what he thought the AI-generated image was representing. He thought it was a doctor helping someone, and when he learned of the concerns, he immediately removed the post."
All right. Well, I've been going to the wrong hospital then, Franklin Graham, for a while. My guys don't look. I was just over there the other day for my daughter. No one looked like that. It doesn't really matter what you write, Franklin. We have eyes and our own personal experiences. So I don't know if you were thinking you could exonerate him through that, but you can't. I'm going to move on to our second.
I think you do have one more, though. I think that he actually went back for more. Sorry. I'm going to hold on. Our guest is going to get mad because we actually
are dangerous people, and they're dangerous to the world. And in all of the Gaza, that is the Iranians. You take what's happening in southern Lebanon, that's the Iranians. So, yes, I think President Trump has done the right thing. I hate war. I don't like war. Don't support war. But sometimes you have to fight evil, and that's exactly what President Trump is doing. And it will be a much safer world, much safer in the Middle East when President Trump gets this done.
I love how they put up a picture of the Pope when he says that he's going to fight evil, and there's the Pope. Oh,
it's the Pope dressed exactly like he is in that picture.
Woof.
All right, let's move on to our second nominee. Our second nominee is Elizabeth Pipko, who wants you to know Donald Trump can do whatever he wants.
Do you remember what he said on Easter Sunday? Do you endorse what he said on Easter Sunday?
If you want to go back.
No, I'm saying he's the president of the United States. Do you endorse what he said on Easter Sunday?
I think after what he has been through, he can say whatever the hell he wants.
Okay, so you think a president can go out there and say he can just like go through with completely clearing civilization?
Whereby corrupt.
Just to be clear, I just want to do you remember what he said this Easter Sunday?
Yes, I do.
And you think he has the right to say it because his coverage is bad?
Not because his coverage is bad, because of the way that he has been treated by so many people.
So because Donald Trump was treated poorly, you think that he could erase all Iranian people?
The decency that we have all wanted our country to continue to stand with was denigrated when Donald Trump went into office. People believed that they should.
So because
yeah, he's been treated so poorly.
I'll let my wife know that. If someone like honks at me in traffic, I'm like, the way I'm treated today, I can do now whatever I want. I don't think that's a rule anywhere in any historical context ever.
Yeah,
it is interesting though. We are getting a 101 in like cults, right? Like this is like, I've never been up close to a cult, but I imagine that's the type of thinking you see when you get up close.
I'm a Disney adult. People say I'm in a cult. Let me tell you, nothing. This is nothing. Like Disney adults have nothing on this. Yeah, he can say whatever he wants. That's an interesting take. All right, let's get to our final nominee. Our final nominee, we have Caitlyn Jenner. Jenner is, of course, a longtime Trump supporter, and she's now dealing with the consequences of one of his policies that he was very vocal about when he ran firsthand. After a Trump administration rule change, passports must now reflect a person's sex at birth. Well, Jenner says that means she can no longer travel internationally because her passport was issued listing her as male, despite submitting documentation to correct it. So what'd she do? Did she speak out? Did she call out the policy? No. She wrote a letter to the president asking him to fix it, saying, I don't blame President Trump. I love him, but this is a big issue, even as the policy directly impacts her own ability to move freely. So for losing your rights and still asking nicely, Caitlyn Jenner, you are a Soulmate Award nominee. So I want to just give a little bit of a preview of our special guest, because he literally asked me if he's allowed to say the F word on this program. And I said, oh, yes, you are.
That's a good start.
Let's announce our winner. And we're going to go live from the tractor outside of Kenilworth, Montana, because we have former Senator John Tester, who also happens to be the co-host of Grounded. Hey, Senator.
I've been listening to you guys, and I can you hear me?
Yeah.
Now we got you.
You can hear me.
Yeah.
You got me now. Well, I've been listening to you guys. You've been having way too much fun. Way too much fun. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, it's a new thing, but we like it. We might toss Miles out.
Oh, that's good. So, what do you want me to do now? You want me to pick between the three amigos?
Yeah, and you feel free to throw any color out there as you discuss and mull this over.
Well, I mean, from what you described, Caitlyn Jenner, and I haven't been tracking Caitlyn Jenner, but you get what you vote for, so she's not going to get picked, or he's not going to pick, or whatever. Okay, that's number one. The second one was Pipco. Is that the name?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, Pipco, and thinks the president treated fairly. What I would say to those folks who got stiffed when he declared bankruptcy 6 times, what about those folks? I don't hear much from them. What about maybe they get put in prison? They didn't do they didn't do the crime and end up in the time. You still got me?
There you are. You're back. You're coming back.
It's all right. From a tractor, we can't expect 100%.
That's better.
You still got me? Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's the first one you put out, Franklin Graham, which talked about how it's okay to have the president like Jesus, and it's okay to attack the Pope, I guess. I mean, Graham was a big deal when I was growing up, and Franklin is a mere hair on the pimple of daddy, as far as I'm concerned. So I give the soulmate to one Franklin Graham, because he's given religion a really bad.
Yeah, there he is. Look at the little guy.
Oh, there he is, Franklin. What did you say? He's a hair on a pimple of his daddy. Is that what you said?
Yeah, that's what I said. That's right. He wouldn't make a hair pimple on his daddy. That's a fact.
Gosh, you said it without the F word too. I'm impressed, Senator.
Yeah, we went through this.
Well, I mean, look, we were talking about religion. I was trying to show some respect, okay? But it really does give religion a bad name. I mean, it really does. Talk about the ultimate. If Joe Biden would have done this, Franklin Graham would have went on top of the mountain and talked about what a sinner he was. What a bunch of crap. He's a fucking idiot. Okay. Got it out of my system.
All right. Get it out. There we go. We knew you had it in you. I'm happy we got it out.
We knew he had it in him. Tester's tractor. I would call it tractor talk with Tester.
Oh, yeah. Nice. That is definitely. We've been missing that since Home Improvement Days. Like a good show like that.
Yeah. But I think we need to get you parked in a different part of the field, because you're a little choppy. Your signal right now is a little choppy.
Most definitely.
Okay.
It's all right.
We'll
bring it next time. All right, brother.
All right. See you later.
Thanks, Senator. Oh boy. If you follow Grounded, our show that we do have tractor time quite frequently, especially in the A months. So April he plants, and in August he harvests. And so, that's just part of the show, and we have to deal with that. Usually the service is better than that. Mercedes is going to kill me because I said, oh yeah, he has way better service on the tractor, but oops. Sorry.
I think I absorbed testosterone through the screen. I think I just grew more chest hair just speaking to him for 20 seconds.
Yeah, no,
I need to spend some time with him out there.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, absolutely. It was worth it. And yeah, it's a fun, we have a fun show, guys. And let me tell you, he was light on the F words because we get actual calls in like, don't swear so much. He swears too much for me, but you know, what am I going to do?
It's challenging times. It's challenging times. You also don't want to be too measured because people can feel that. We've got enough politicians in DC being extra measured. So it's nice to hear some authenticity. And if that's his authentic self, so be it.
So be it. All right, Xander, are you going to close us out? I don't know what to do now. I'm not Miles. Miles,
you know what? Let's just wildcard it. Let's let you freestyle the close out. What do you want to say to the Defiance members on our way out?
Well, it's Friday, so happy Friday. Thank you for spending some time with us here and for helping, just encouraging us as I bumble through this. I hope that you have a great weekend and be kind to one another. How about that?
That was lovely. I like it. Let's do it. Maritza, I just want to say thank you also for being a honorary part of this team. It's been so wonderful the last couple of weeks.
All right. Thank you all so much. Yeah, Mercedes, she's going to close us out. Okay.
Send us off. Later, gang.